Starship orbital launch mount repair and upgrade work hit a major milestone on July 5. SpaceX has begun installing water-cooled steel plates under the launch mount to protect the launch pad from damage during future Starship orbital launches. The Starship launch pad sustained significant damage during the inaugural test flight on April 20. During the test flight, the sheer power of the Super Heavy booster's 33 Raptor engines created a substantial crater beneath the pad. As a result, chunks of concrete fragments were sent soaring through the air. Immediately after the test flight, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk shared that SpaceX is planning to build a massive water-cooled steel plate to go under the launch mount to mitigate pad damage in the future. For the past several weeks, teams have been working to install the steel plates under the OLM. At first, SpaceX installed several piles under the launch mount, followed by rebars to strengthen the foundation. Later, several loads of concrete were poured over the rebar to build the foundation. The first layer of the foundation was laid on June 25 with 132 trucks of concrete. The second layer was completed with 171 trucks of concrete on July 3. Overall, 2,300 cubic meters or 5,410 tons of concrete were used to build a strong foundation under the orbital launch mount. It did not take long for that massive amount of concrete to cure. The large central piece of the water-cooled steel plate was delivered to the launch site on June 30. The center piece was lifted with the help of cranes on Wednesday afternoon and placed on a vertical transport stand. The transport stand was then moved under the launch mount. Later, the cranes lifted the steel plate, translated it horizontally, and gently placed it on the already built concrete foundation. Large 2-inch thick embeds were placed under the launch mount before the concrete was poured so that they would sit above the concrete surface. The embeds will offer a flat metal surface for welding the steel plates. 6 more steel plates are required to complete the water-cooled steel plate assembly. Only 3 of those 6 plates will be connected to the manifolds that will bring water from the main water storage tanks. The assembly of the water storage tanks, high-pressure gas tanks, and pipes that deliver water to the steel plates is progressing behind the launch tower. The high-pressure gas travels from the gas canisters through 2 separate paths and ends up in 2 large and 4 smaller water storage tanks. The high-pressure gas will force the water stored inside the tanks toward the launch mount. The water from the water tanks will flow towards the steel plates through 2 separate delivery pipes. The water leaving the tanks will first enter the weir pipes installed to control the flow rate of the water. The water leaving the weir will finally reach the steel plates through the underground supply pipes. Pressurized water will then flow through the channels inside the steel plates before being discharged under the launch mount like a shower head. The water released will cool the metal surface and simultaneously absorb energy from the booster engine plume during liftoff. In addition, the water released will act as a wall between the plume and the steel to prevent it from heating up to the melting point. 2 of the 3 steel plates with manifolds arrived at the launch site on Thursday morning. The third and final steel plate with manifold arrived the same day night. All 3 steel plates with manifolds are of different sizes and shapes. You can gain a better understanding of the design of the 3 steel plates with manifolds from these animations created by Hansen Space. The remaining 3 smaller steel plates are already at the launch site and are being prepared for installation. You can visualize how the 6 steel plates will be put around the center large plate with the help of this animation made by the space engineer. The installation of the steel plates is expected to be completed in the coming days. Workers have begun removing support structures and scaffolding from the launch mount, indicating the launch mount repair works are coming to an end. You may recall that 2 weeks ago, workers removed the payload bay door from Starship 28. Though why the door was removed from the ship is still a mystery, the door was reinstalled on the ship on July 5. The new Mega Bay building, which is being constructed north of the existing Mega Bay, has also grown in size in the last few weeks. The Federal Communications Commission recently granted SpaceX a license for the Starship's second orbital test flight. The license shows the orbital launch could take place anytime between July 14 and January 14 next year. Please note that SpaceX still needs the green light from the FAA to launch Starship for a second time as the administration grounded the rocket pending an ongoing investigation that resulted from its debut launch failure. On July 5, a U.S. court granted SpaceX permission to intervene in a lawsuit filed by environmental groups challenging the FAA's approvals for Starship launches near a national wildlife refuge in Texas. The Center for Biological Diversity and others sued the Federal Aviation Administration in May, accusing the agency of failing to consider environmental harms from the Starship rocket program adequately. They asked the court to revoke the launch approvals until the FAA conducts a full environmental impact study. The lawsuit came just 11 days after the orbital flight test ended in an explosion over the Gulf of Mexico. SpaceX asked the court for permission to intervene in May, saying it has a direct and substantial economic interest in the case. In a court filing submitted on June 30, FAA denied every allegation made by the lawsuit and argued that the environmental groups lacked legal grounds for their claims. Separately, a SpaceX filing noted that the first Starship launch on April 20 provided no cause for the FAA to conduct a new environmental assessment, which might halt further test launches for years. At the same time, SpaceX admits that Super Heavy is a powerful rocket that causes heat, noise, and light, and the concrete launch pad deck was damaged during the liftoff, spreading some debris and dust. SpaceX's filing said the Starship program passed an environmental assessment and complied with FAA-required mitigations and asked the federal court to dismiss the complaint put forth by the environmental groups. Now, let's discuss some of the biggest updates in the world of science and technology from the past week. After 27 years of service, the Ariane 5 era came to a close with the final launch of the launcher on July 5. An Ariane 5 rocket lifted off from the European spaceport in French Guiana on Wednesday evening, sending government communications satellites for Germany and France into space. The launch marked the Ariane 5's 117th mission and the 347th launch for the entire Ariane space family of launch vehicles. About 2.5 minutes into the flight, the vehicle's solid rocket boosters separated from the core stage, whose single Vulcain engine continued burning, carrying the payloads into space. The satellites on board included the Heinrich Hertz, on behalf of the German Aerospace Center, and the Syracuse 4B, on behalf of the French Defense Procurement Agency. The core stage shut down around 9 minutes after liftoff, and the rocket's upper stage separated and began its burn. Heinrich Hertz separated from the upper stage approximately 30 minutes after liftoff, and Syracuse 4B separated 3.5 minutes later. Both satellites are headed for geostationary orbit, about 35,800 kilometers above Earth. The 3,400-kilogram Heinrich Hertz satellite will test advanced communications technologies. The 3,570-kilogram Syracuse 4B satellite will join its predecessor, Syracuse 4A, launched in 2021. The pair will replace the Syracuse satellites 3A and 3B as military communication relays. The Ariane 5 rocket, developed by Arianespace, is the workhorse of Europe's independent access to space. The launch vehicle comprises a cryogenic core stage with 2 solid side boosters and an upper stage powered by a liquid propellant engine. The rocket is substantially more powerful than its successors and employs more cutting-edge technologies. The heavy launcher has more than doubled the mass-to-orbit capacity of its predecessor, Ariane 4, which operated from 1988 to 2003. While the first 2 Ariane 5 flights in 1996 and 1997 failed, the launch vehicle evolved over the following years into one of the most reliable and safest rockets, with 112 successful launches out of 117. The heavy-lift launch vehicle launched the Space Telescope's XMM Newton in 1999 and Herschel and Planck in 2009. It also launched Rosetta and Philae in 2004, the first mission ever to make a soft landing on a comet. The launching of the European Automated Transfer Vehicles ensured the delivery of supplies to the International Space Station from 2008 to 2015. Ariane 5 launched the James Webb Space Telescope in December 2021 and put the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, or JUICE spacecraft, on course for Jupiter in April of this year. The rocket also successfully and reliably launched 12 Galileo satellites and around 150 commercial satellites. The development of the next-generation Ariane 6 rocket is currently underway. This new rocket is largely a modernization of the Ariane 5, including an updated design for the solid rocket booster and its core stage Vulcain engine. Initially, it was expected that Ariane 6's operation would begin in 2020, but later the dates were repeatedly shifted due to the COVID pandemic and difficulties in developing the launch vehicle. A lot of work remains to be done before Ariane 6's debut mission, which will carry multiple rideshare payloads to space. The pre-launch activities include a hot fire test of the rocket's upper stage, flight software qualification tests, and assembly of the rocket on the launch pad. According to the latest reports, the Ariane 6 rocket will not fly before next year. NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter calls home from Mars after a 63-day silence. The little chopper took to the Martian skies on April 26 for its 52nd flight, but lost contact with mission controllers before landing, creating a 2-month-long communications blackout. The silence was because a hill stood between the helicopter's landing location and the Perseverance rover's position, blocking communication between the two. The rover serves as a radio relay between the helicopter and mission controllers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The communications loss was anticipated, and the Ingenuity team had already developed recontact plans for when the rover would drive back within range. Following a painstaking wait, the 52nd flight of Ingenuity was finally declared a success when contact was re-established on June 28 after Perseverance crested the hill and could see Ingenuity again. Ingenuity covered 363 meters of ground during its 52nd flight, which lasted 139 seconds. The main goals of the sortie were to reposition the chopper and snap photos for Perseverance's science team. The newly received flight data suggests that Ingenuity remains in good health. If additional checks confirm this, the helicopter could return to the skies again in the coming weeks. Ingenuity and Perseverance touched down in the Jezero crater in February 2021. The 1.8 kilograms chopper quickly aced its primary mission, a 5-flight campaign designed to show that aerial exploration is feasible in the thin Martian atmosphere. Ingenuity then embarked on an extended mission, during which it is serving as a scout for Perseverance. The target for Ingenuity's next flight is an interim airfield to the west, from which the team plans to perform another westward flight to a new base of operations near a rocky outcrop the Perseverance team is interested in exploring. Thank you for tuning in for the latest science news and Starship updates. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.